Okay, hi, and thank you for watching. We're going to talk about the budget. This is our template that we've built for you. Hopefully you also have this Excel file and you're using the same thing that I'm looking at that I'm going to show you. I will be hiding some of the columns just for now, just to make it look a little less overwhelming as I explain things. The whole point of doing a budget is really to set goals and predict for the next 12 months, for your next fiscal year, how you're going to do for revenue, expenses, and profit. We want to plan out having a good amount of profit, and we're going to do that line by line using your income statements. So hopefully you know what an income statement is. If not, it is the most important financial statement that you should be looking at in your business every month. It will show you how many sales you have in a month. It will show you how much cost of goods sold you have in a month. It will show you how much gross profit you have. It will show you all your overhead expenses. And when you take your income minus your COGS, you get your gross profit. And then from there, you subtract your total expenses, you get your net profit, and that's your bottom line, what's left at the end of the day or the end of the month. Let's make this a bit bigger here. Okay, so all those other columns I hit, I'll talk about in a moment, but for now, I just want you to get into the mind frame of what we're doing here. We are setting goals. So for January, let's say that it's October, and we're setting goals for January 2020. You want to set goals for your next fiscal year. So let's say that last January you did 100,000 in January, but now your team is bigger. You guys have made a lot of improvements over the last year. You've added maybe 2 more salespeople. So calculate how much more sales you could do based on the additional salespeople and based on those other improvements that you guys have done. So instead of budgeting for 100,000 like you did last January, I would, budget for 150,000. If that is something that you feel like you can do with the changes that you've made in your business. This is weird. Sorry guys. There we go. I don't know what's happening there. Okay. So we're going to budget for $150,000. So that becomes your sales goal for January. Okay, so if you have a sales team, you need to give them KPIs or goals to hit that number. Then your cost of goods is any labor or materials that you have to pay for, or even shipping or credit card fees, anything you have to pay for that varies with sales. So you have to pay for these kind of things in order to do your sales. So you have to pay the people to do the work so you can sell the thing, and you have to pay for the material that goes into the thing that you sell. So those costs go here. And your total costs, let's say they're going to be $75,000. Now, I estimated $75,000 cost of goods by saying that it's probably about half of your revenue. But what you should do here is go back to your last year, last 12 months, last few months, and look. Take this number, your total cost of goods sold, divide it by your revenue, and see what percentage it is. So you can see here that $75,000 worth of COGS is 50% of our total income. Now, if you know that in the past you've consistently had your cost of goods sold be 50% of your revenue, all you have to do after you set your revenue goals for the months made this a little too small, is go into here, and for COGS, you know that it's going to be 50%, so 0.5 times your revenue. Make sense? And you're going to do this based on what your revenue to COGS ratio has been in the past, but you're also going to try to improve it. So if last year your COGS as a percentage of revenue were 60%, try to get them down to 50% because we want to increase our gross profit. And gross profit is income minus COGS. So when COGS goes up, gross profit goes down. When COGS goes down, gross profit goes up. So then you can see here again that your COGS are 50% of your revenue. Okay, we're gonna make this into a, and if you're not following along, do a basic YouTube Excel tutorial. Do yourself a favor. It'll make this a lot easier for you. Okay, all the formulas are in here though for you, so you shouldn't have to change anything. But it will make it a lot easier if you understand what the formulas mean in case you accidentally delete one and that sort of thing. There's lots of really helpful Excel for beginners on YouTube. So we've set our income goal for January. We know that our total cost of goods are going to be about 50% of that. So we'll have $75,000 left for gross profit. Now we have to budget for our overhead expenses. So how much is your rent? You know that. Let's say it's $1,800. How much is your internet? Let's say it's $200. Insurance, $310. Lease, $500. Salaries, $20,000. Etc. Don't ever put etc. I should change that. Let's make that office supplies. So this is where you're going to, every month, you're going to do your fixed costs, or the costs that don't vary with sales, okay? They're called overhead expenses, or they might just be called expenses sometimes. So you know what these costs will be for the year. You know what you'll pay for rent, you know what you're going to pay for internet, you know what you're going to pay for advertising, you know what you're going to pay for salaries, etc. Okay? So they all add up to total overhead expenses of $22,910. And your net profit, the formula is already in there for you, is your gross profit, is your gross profit minus your total expenses. So you can find net profit two ways. You can either take your total income, subtract your COGS, and subtract your total expenses, or you can just take your gross profit and subtract your total expenses. Now, $52,000 on $150,000 sales. To find the percentage here of our net profit margin, we're going to divide this by this. 34.73% on the bottom line. That is not bad. So hopefully that's higher than last year, and hopefully that amount of profit at the end of the month makes you happy. If it doesn't, you need to get back to work on increasing sales or decreasing costs, okay? And then you're just going to go ahead and do this for every month. And mostly for these, you can just copy and paste because they're going to be the same every month. Uh-oh, what did I just do there? Sorry, guys. I don't know how I did that. Oh, thank you. Here we are. Okay. So we are copying and pasting. Copying and pasting our fixed expenses into each month because we know that they're going to be the same every month. Okay. It's going to make these a little bit bigger so this stops happening to us. Okay. Keep in mind though that if you have like business licenses that you know you have to pay once a year, or if you pay for your insurance once a year, you know that you have a big consulting fee that comes out once a year. You might put those different expenses in the different months, okay? So we should now have our overhead expenses filled in for every month. And as you can see, the formulas are already in here, so they're calculating. Looks like you have a big loss of $23,000 every month. That's because we've only put in the expenses so far. So let's go put in some income in March. So let's say you can get up to $210 in March. And our total cost of goods is going to be 50% of the revenue, right? Right. And then gross profit is the inverse of that. So that's also 50%. In April, let's say that we're going to keep climbing up, 215. And in here, we're going to do 0.5 times the revenue because that's how much our COGS is. And of course, same thing for gross profit. So gross profit and COGS always add up to income, because gross profit is income minus COGS, and COGS is income minus gross profit. So I hope that makes sense. And these are all going to be 50%, obviously, across here. Drag that over. Okay, so May, we're going to do 215. June, we're going to do 215. And let's say in July, things start to slow down. And in August, you typically really slow down. And September. But then when you start to get back to school, let's say things get ramped back up a little bit. Oops. Okay. And before Christmas is going to be awesome for you. And let's do, okay. Okay, now we just have to go in here and put in 0.5 times the revenue. And I'm just going to drag that across so that it does it for all of the numbers. Okay. Now you can see if we hit these sales goals every month and we have these COGS numbers and these gross profits. Oh, sorry, this is going to be 50% every time too. Gross profit divided by income. Okay, and then we have these overhead expenses every month. We will have this net profit every month. This is a good looking bottom line. Look at those net profits growing. Okay, that is great. Now, we're also going to take this and drag it across because we want you to know your net profit margin for every month. Those are very, very, very good gross profit margins. So you can see how increasing your revenue really upped your profit margin. Usually when you increase your revenue, you have to increase some cost to support that revenue increase, but ideally you can increase your revenue without proportionally increasing your costs. So this is how you build your budget, okay? And then obviously the total is just going to be the sum of all of these. Just want to check my math here. So this plus this plus this plus this plus this plus this plus this. Right, okay, perfect. So you're gonna have a $2.4 million a year. Your total cost of goods, we're gonna actually drag this down because then it will just add up all the numbers for us for all the other areas. These are just empty. This should be a percentage. This should be a percentage. And then this should be... Okay, so at the end of the year, we made $2.4 million in sales. We had total cost of goods of $1.2 million, gross profit of $1.2 million, and here's our total overhead expenses for the year. So our net profit is $2 million on $2.4 million. That is going to be a really great profit margin. So this divided by this. 85% profit margin. Pretty darn good when you started with 35%. So this is a great budget. It's an optimistic budget. Make sure that you are realistic. You know that it's possible to attain these numbers, but you do need to stretch and push yourself. You don't want to make it too easy. This is building your dream business. You're planning out the best financial year ever. So you want to set your goals high. Set your revenue goals high, set your expense goals low, and try to save money wherever you can. And now I'm going to unhide all of these because I'm going to see what else we do after we set our budget. So we set our budget in the white columns, right? Now, after every month, so let's say January actually happens, we're going to look at our profit and loss statement and we're going to put in how much money we actually made. Oh, look, we beat our goal. That is awesome. So that's great news. Then we're going to look at what our total cost of goods sold was. Uh-oh, looks like we spent more than we said we were going to spend for cost of goods sold. So what is the cost of goods as a percentage of revenue? It's 57%. So we want it down at 50% if we want to hit these profit margins we're talking about, okay? So then, of course, your gross profit is also lower than what we budgeted, and your gross profit margin is lower than what we budgeted because we spent too much on COGS, okay? So that means that you need to go and look what you did for sales, because that's great. Keep doing whatever you're doing because you're beating your sales goals, but go take a look at why you're not getting your margin. Are you selling too many products that are low margin? Should you be promoting more of the higher margin products? Or should you just be raising your prices? Or should you be finding or sourcing more affordable materials, or paying people more efficiently, or getting your labor more efficient, getting your people to work more efficiently? Then down here, let's say that we had pretty much the exact expenses that we anticipated because we're smart and we know what our numbers are. So net profit equals gross profit minus total expenses. So we did okay. We made $44,000 net profit, and you're getting all these numbers from your income statement, but our goal was $52,000 net profit. That's not too bad, but you really want to take a look at this when it happens to improve, to make sure that you can hit your February numbers, and that you can hit your March numbers, and that you can hit your April numbers. So every month you do this process and you look at each line and see if you hit it or if you missed it, and figure out why or why not, and then get to work on that area of your business. So that'll be the same thing for February, and then after February we're just going to add one more step. So you can print your profit and loss statement for February, but you can also print your profit and loss statement for the whole year to date, so January 1st to the end of February, and that is going to go in here. Okay, so your year-to-date budget should be your budget goals from, oops, that's wrong. Your budget goals from January and February, okay? And your year-to-date actual should be your actual January plus your actual February. Okay, so the reason we want to do each month and then we want to do year-to-date after each month is to see, maybe we did a good job in January, but we did a bad job in February. We want to know how we're doing year-to-date, okay? Because if you just look at each month individually, it's not as insightful. It doesn't give you as much leverage. So this is your monthly process. Build the budget, then every month compare it to your income statement and make sure that you are really looking at it and figuring out where you need to go to work in your business. This is the number one tool you need to use in your business. Every single time people implement it, they increase their profit margins hugely, and they have so many insights about their business. So I can't even tell you all the things that you're going to learn about your business, but there will be a lot, and it will make a massive difference for your bottom line. So I hope that was really helpful, and like I said, if you have any questions, please reach out. We're here to help.